Good day and welcome to a podcast from your award-winning government television station, County Cable Montgomery. Now, here's your host, Derek Kenny.
Good day and welcome to What's Happening MoCo. In today's episode, we talked to Asim Nagal. He's the Director of Department of Housing and Community Affairs for Montgomery County, Maryland, and he's going to talk to us about some very important issues. Some residents have been challenged this year with facing issues due to rent and evictions from the pandemic. The pandemic has affected their livelihoods, their incomes, and not only their health, but they're very survivable. So today we're talking to Asim Nagal. Asim, how are you today, sir?
I'm very well. Thank you very much.
All right. So what does your department do, and what is your role with the department?
Sure. And good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me this afternoon. It's always good to connect with the constituents. Just to let you know, I'm so grateful for the support that our community has provided to us, and thank you for your endurance during this difficult time. In terms of Department of Housing and Community Affairs, my department does a lot of things. Among other things, we do affordable housing, code enforcement, Office of Landlord-Tenant Affairs, common ownership communities. We manage federal grants. We do licensing and registration. I've been with the department for a little over a year and a half. I came to Montgomery County from Fairfax County, although I'm a Montgomery County resident. So I was doing that hellish commute on the Beltway for 15 years before moving back to Montgomery County to work here. But it's good to be back here among all of our constituents. So I really appreciate the support that our constituents have provided to us over the years and will provide to us, going forward. That being said, a couple of things that I want to mention about our department before I go into rental assistance and eviction prevention information per se. Hopefully everyone knows what our department does, but in case people are not up to speed on what all things we do, in terms of affordable housing, this is FY20 numbers. We committed almost $59 million in terms of reducing housing cost burden. Montgomery County is a high cost area. Median rent is about $1,750 to $1,800 on a monthly basis. We already have at least 20,000 households who are rent burdened. So by that, I mean they're paying more than 50% of their income towards the rent. And then we have another 20,000 households who are civilly rent burdened. By that, I mean they're paying more than 30% of their income towards the rent. If you look at Washington area median income is about $129,000 for a family of four. So you have to be making at least, $70,000, $80,000 to pay that median rent that I just mentioned to you. But we know that, a lot of our residents are struggling, and this was pre-pandemic. So we had our work cut out before even pandemic started. Now, of course, because of pandemic, it has become, more of an issue of how to provide support to the residents who, no fault of their own, either their hours are cut or they lost their jobs and they have to make their ends meet. So in terms of our affordable housing, we are open for business. We are continuing to do whether it's preservation or creation of affordable housing. We are continuing to make loans. We help provide opportunities to 190 households to become first-time home buyers. We provide rental assistance through our office, through HHS as such. So we do a variety of things besides doing code enforcement, where we almost manage 696 multifamily properties. We have 130,000 rental units in the county. Within my department's purview is about 105 or 106,000, but if you include city of Rockville, Tacoma Park, and Lewisburg, they're about 130,000 rental units. Why I'm saying all of this is pre-pandemic, our delinquency rate was about 3%. This was like February, March of last year. Now, post-pandemic, what we are seeing, and we have been seeing the surveys on a monthly basis, based on the last surveys, anywhere between 12% to 15% delinquency, which means that anywhere between 15,000 and 20,000 households may be delinquent on their rent. So what all resources do we have available? I can tell you that the county has committed almost $86 million in rental assistance, whether it's the county funds, state funds, federal funds. Federal funds have been a big portion of this, or the initial federal funding that we got through the CARES Act money or the CDBG funds. Although we are talking about the rental assistance, I can also tell you that within Montgomery County or during just Washington metropolitan area, we were the first entity or among half a dozen entities as such who use CDBG money to help support our local businesses. So by that, I mean, we help support micro enterprises. Those are the businesses which have 5 or fewer employees. And besides us, DC, probably Washington State, North Carolina, and maybe a couple of other jurisdictions across the country, we were only a handful of jurisdictions who use this money to help support our local businesses. Where I'm going with all of this is people need employment to pay the rent. So we were at least able to help, some businesses where they could, employ their employees. And so those employees in turn could pay their rent. Now, in terms of rental assistance, there is a lot of rental assistance available. And as I mentioned to the folks during our press conference a couple of weeks ago, we are here to help you. We are open for business. Please do not hesitate in reaching out to us for any assistance that you need. We have a great network of social service organizations, whether it's Renters Alliance, LEDC, HIP, CASA, Maryland Legal Aid, or there's another entity, Homeless Persons Representation Project as such, who also provide legal services. So we have a lot of assistance available, and there's more assistance coming our way through the American Rescue Act. We do not know how much, but it will be a sizable portion. And as you have seen or heard from different resources, we have at least $56 million of rental assistance available. Why I'm mentioning all this, besides just mentioning the $56 million, if you look at the governor's order, the CDC order, there may be an eviction moratorium until June 30th. But that doesn't mean that the tenant, when the tenant gets the summons, should not go to the court with the proper documentation. We can help folks if they're ready to help themselves too. But at the same time, we have resources available. What we are reaching out to our tenants and the landlords alike is there is assistance available. They should be talking to each other. If the tenant is owing some rent to the landlord, and they should work out a payment plan. They should reach out to our Health and Human Services Department for rental assistance, which became available on April 9th. It's an online application in case you don't have access to.
I'm sorry, this is a lot of information. Let's pull back just a little bit. You shared so much information and a lot of facts about what's happening this year and what people are facing. And I think you mentioned there's a marked increase in the amount of people that are seeking assistance. Let's talk a little bit about that. So you said you had a press conference a few weeks ago. What has been the overall impression from your department of how COVID-19 is affecting residents that live in the county, whether it be renters or homeowners? What are they dealing with, just from your point of view? Are there a lot more people? Are people desperate? Are you getting a lot more calls to your organization? How much are you spending? I think you mentioned that before, but why don't you just give us that information again? I think we wanted to share in the gravity of all that's going on so far. And of course, there's a lot of good work being done by your department.
Sure. Great question. Of course, on an average, we field about 30,000 calls through 311 on in any given year for different programs. Of course, the number of calls have increased, and I do not have the number for Health and Human Services Department. I'm sure their calls have increased too because of rental assistance that's needed out in the community. So certainly, the numbers of calls have increased. And the purpose or the mention in those calls is about rental assistance or what my rights are as a tenant. So that's where we step into with our Office of Landlord Tenant Affairs. We sent out a poster to all of our licensees as such. We have 30,000 licensees in the county and asked them to post the tenant size poster in a area where the tenants can see what their rights are. We have been doing webinars on a regular basis to tell them what their rights are and what assistance they need. So in terms of the calls, yes, the calls have increased over the last 1 year for specific things. But at the same time, we're also doing our outreach for the tenants and the landlords alike. We had a couple of webinars just for the landlords last week. One in cooperation with AOBA and the other one in cooperation with both HHS and DSCA. So we are making sure that people have the information available and they have the support network, because not just the rental assistance, which will do the trick, it's also the support organizations whom we severely rely on. And they're doing God's work at this point in helping out our residents. So I would really, request our constituents to reach out to us. Please do not hold back. Immigration status doesn't matter. Even if English is not your primary language, we have information available in different languages. We have support network who are ready and able to help you as we speak. We have legal representation available through various organizations during the court date. So if you receive a summons and you go to the court, you can reach out to those organizations ahead of time, what all documentation you need to take with you. And they will walk you through what all documentation you need to provide to the judge.
Great. So let's back up, because you're starting to get into some very key areas that I think will help people understand a lot more about how to fight. Sometimes when you're getting beat down, like COVID is beating down everyone, and if you've lost your job or your finances have been challenged, you are not in a position to fight, and you may feel helpless. But what you're saying is that renters have rights, and that there's resources available even if you're called to court.